Before we get into this guide, a bit of a disclaimer. I'm not going to get into specific numbers, and if I do, please understand that they are subject to change. Not only is Deadlock a live service game that will receive updates on a regular basis, but it's in early access. And as much fun as it was to make this guide, I'd rather not have to remake it every 2 weeks to keep up with balance changes. Also, anytime I say an item is bad or an item is overpowered, I'm talking specifically for Paige because this is a Paige guide. I'm also going to make some assumptions like that you kind of know what a box run is or what a gank is and how to do it, because again, this is a guide specific to Paige and not some general Deadlock guide. But if you do want to learn more specifics on things like box runs or ganks, please consider subscribing, as I plan to make videos on those topics in the near future. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the guide.
I can upgrade my powers!
Bookworm. Paige targets a location and throws her book that spawns a dragon that spews fire that damages enemies and leaves behind a fiery path that will burn enemies that stand on it. The first upgrade makes it so the ability is wider and makes the fire path last longer. The second upgrade makes the dragon travel significantly further and reduces the cooldown. And the third upgrade gives more damage to both the fire spew and the fiery path. It also gives an extra charge. The dragon doesn't just stop if it hits something. It'll bounce and slide off of walls depending on the angle that you threw it at. So this can sometimes lead to weird interactions where the dragon gets stuck on things or acts in a way that you did not expect it to. Paige's next ability is Plot Armor. Paige targets an ally or herself and gives a barrier and gun damage as long as they have the shield. The first upgrade gives additional fire rate to anyone with the shield. The second upgrade increases the shield by a flat amount and increases the duration the barrier lasts. The third upgrade gives increased scaling and makes it so the barrier can now bounce to 2 additional allies at a slightly reduced amount to the barrier. Those allies still receive the full fire rate and weapon damage increase. If you have this ability maxed and you self-cast it, the shield will bounce through walls to allies you can't target, as long as they're in range for the shield to bounce. Additional ability range does not increase the distance at which the shield will bounce to new targets. It will only increase the initial cast distance. Paige's third ability is Captivating Read. Paige marks a circular area that applies a slow and after a short delay will damage and immobilize anyone caught inside. The first upgrade reduces the cooldown. The second increases the duration of the immobilize. And the third upgrade increases the radius of the circle and reduces the spirit resistance of anyone caught inside. Finally, Paige's ultimate, Rallying Charge. Paige will, after a short cast time, summon a wall of horses that charge in a straight line and through buildings, healing allies and increasing their movement speed while damaging and stunning enemies. The further this ability travels, the more damage and healing it does to a cap called Amp. The first upgrade increases the amount of healing. The second upgrade reduces the cooldown and makes the charge wider. The third upgrade increases the damage, stun duration, as well as increasing the amp, increasing not just the speed at which it increases the damage and heal over distance, but the total amount of bonus you can get, because it takes the same distance to reach maximum amp before and after the increased cap. I also want to talk about Paige's gun, Chapter's End. Paige has a very unique gun in Deadlock. It does a surprising amount of damage, especially early on. However, there are some obvious drawbacks, one being the super slow projectile speed. Paige's gun also can't get headshots, therefore there's no point in aiming for the head, which is great for me because my aim sucks anyways. Paige's bullets also have an extremely large damage hitbox, but not a collision hitbox, and you can use this to hit enemies behind cover. Paige also has spirit scaling for her heavy melee damage.
I should check out the shop!
When it comes to itemization, there are 2 main playstyles that Paige really excels at, and picking the right one for the game is very important. Those being the Protector and the Catch/Lockdown playstyle. Now Paige does do both of these at the same time, but it's really important that you pick one and lean into that playstyle. Which one you pick depends on the team comp. You should be trying to fill in whichever one your team lacks. For example, if you have a Bebop and a Dynamo on your team, you'll want to lean more into the Protecto style, as Bebop and Dynamo have your Catch/Lockdown. But let's say you have a Kelvin on your team, he's going to be better to fit that Protector's playstyle, so you should lean more into the Catch/Lockdown.
I can get something powerful at the store.
High velocity rounds. Paige's gun does a lot of damage, especially early on, and high velocity can help compensate for that abysmal projectile speed, making hitting those shots much easier. This is very important when it comes to securing souls. Sprint boots. Sprint speed and extra regen are perfect for doing box runs in between waves. Trophy collector. Sprint speed, ability range, and some passive soul income are perfect stats for Paige, and the NPC damage doesn't really matter because you shouldn't be farming that much on Paige anyways. Opening rounds. This is an upgrade to high velocity, and it adds some spirit power and more conditional damage, and it's really good stats for the cost. Guardian Ward. Guardian Ward is a great early game item, especially when you cycle Guardian Ward and Plot Armor one after the other. This makes it so you basically can't lose a trade when both are up. If you have to use a shield on yourself and your ally at the same time, always use Plot Armor on yourself and Guardian Ward on an ally, because when Guardian Ward is used on yourself, the cooldown is doubled. Compressed cooldown. Imbue compressed cooldown on your ult. Your ult is such a long cooldown, and it's such a powerful ability, it can change a losing fight into a winning one. So the more ults, the better. Plus, we'll be getting superior cooldown later in the build for our other abilities anyways. Mystic Expansion. Imbue this on Captivating Reed. Not only does it let you cast it from a further distance, but also makes the radius larger, making it much easier to hit. Duration Extender. Also imbued on Captivating Reed, this makes Demobilize last longer, and we're going to be picking up superior duration later on in the game anyways. Extra Stamina. Paige tends to get targeted a lot in fights, so this will help you stay mobile, as mobility is your best defense. It's also super helpful for just moving around the map, which as a support character, you're going to be doing a lot. Arcane Surge. You're already getting extra stam, and for an extra 800 souls, you get a crazy amount of really good stats. But why not Stamina Mastery, you might ask? Well, Stamina Mastery is just too expensive. You're better off spending those souls somewhere else. Knockdown. This item is great for Paige. Combine it with Captivating Reed to really lock someone down, or interrupt things like Lash and Bebop ult, or to make Vindicta or Grey Talons think twice about their positioning and make them burn their Dispel magics. Divine Barrier. This item, being able to remove debuffs from yourself and allies, is strong in and of itself, but it also gives you ability range, a huge shield, and less importantly, some movement speed to those you barrier.
I should swing by the curiosity shop.
Extra health. The extra HP goes a long way, especially on Paige, as she doesn't get much HP from her boons. Enchanter's Emblem. If you can buy this item, buy it. Meaning, if the enemies do some decent spirit damage in lane, it's a good option. This item gives so many good stats for only 1600 souls. Now, you will be looking to sell this probably towards the late game, but it's still a great early game item. Reactive Barrier. This item is sometimes a necessity versus characters like Bebop and Lash, but only if you find you're being targeted a lot, because most of the time something like Spirit Shielding or Enchanter's Emblem is going to be a better option. Spirit Shielding. Speaking of Spirit Shielding, this item is great. It's especially good versus Spirit Nuke like Calico and Pocket, but works against any kind of spirit damage. Fortitude. Upgrading from extra health, more HP, and movement speed to get around the map is great. Plus, the regen will make it so you basically never have to base. Counterspell. Understanding when to buy Counterspell is one of the most important things you can do, not just for Paige, but in Deadlock. In the right situation, this is the most broken item in the game. Lash ult? Pass. Silver about to slam fire you? Nah. Bebop bombs on you? Hard pass. Spirit Resilience. This item can be really good when you're taking lots of spirit damage, but only once you have like over 2000 HP, as anytime before that, it's usually not worth getting a percentage reduction on such a small amount. You're better off getting an item like Fortitude to get more HP to make you tankier, rather than trying to reduce the damage the enemy's doing. Indomitable. This item has some very niche use cases. If you find that you're being kidnapped by holidays, or Moen's skill is running through your whole team just to ult you, then this item might be worth investing in, but still, it's really expensive for the stats it gives in its current state. Spellbreaker. This item is also very situational on Paige. It's only really good if you're constantly being dove by someone who does Spirit Nuke, like Pocket or Calico. Even someone like Mina or Celeste could warrant you buying this item, but again, only if you're constantly being dove by them.
The right item could make the difference.
Healing Ray. I will be making an entire video just talking about Healing Ray, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that when it comes out. but I'll give you a super summed up version here. If you get low in lane, buy healing right, then go run some boxes. Or if your lane partner gets low, let them know that you have the item by either using voice comms, or if you're not comfortable doing that, just ping the item to let them know it's ready so that they don't instantly run in the second you put it on them. Rescue Beam. This is a great item if you notice your team is being kidnapped a lot by heroes like Bebop, Holiday, or Paradox. Or when your team is getting picked off on the side of a fight, pulling them out of danger could literally be game-changing. Rusted Barrel. This is a great cheap item if you need to shut down a gun hero in lane. Slowing Hex. Silencing the movement abilities can be very oppressive versus the right hero. It will literally disable Apollo's entire kit, and disable most of Calico's too. Silence Wave. Having an AoE silence and some decent damage on top of that is not something to overlook. This is really good at shutting down characters that really rely on using their abilities, like Pocket, Wraith, Yamato, and Grey Talon for example. Decay. Good versus tanky heroes and or heroes that heal a lot. Now, Paige shouldn't be the one on the team responsible to apply anti-heal, because her options are really bad, but if I have to, this is the item I would go to if I needed anti-heal. But it's still a great anti-tank item. Disarming Hex. If there's a fed gun hero like Viper or Drifter running around, this is a great option to basically turn them off for a few seconds. Cursed Relic. This is the ultimate screw you in particular item. If there's one hero on the enemy team causing a lot of problems, get this and use it on them every fight. Vortex Web. It's great for setting up Captivating Read to hit multiple enemy heroes, but I would only get this if I already bought Slowing Hacks, or if my team has a massive wombo combo that this will be used to help set up. Scourge. This is a good item if you have a fed frontliner like Abram, Shiv, or Billy, but not really a fed carry. Alchemical Fire. Great if you have a lot of gun heroes on your team, and are a little bit more wombo combo heavy. Heroic Aura. It's great if you have a lot of gun heroes on your team, but not a lot of wombo combo.
Wonder what they have at the store.
Superior Duration. The extra duration on all your abilities other than Captivating Read that already has Duration Extender is nice, but you really want it for your active items. Superior Cooldown. Getting extra CDR on all your abilities is really nice, but it's more of a luxury, and supports unfortunately don't get those. This is really just a stepping stone to getting Transcendent Cooldown. Transcendent Cooldown. This item is a must-buy, but only once the conditions are met. Those being 3 to 4 tier 3 or 4 active items. Greater Expansion. This is a similar story to Superior Duration. The extra range on all your abilities is nice, but you really want that extra range for your active items.
I can get something better.
Golden Goose Egg. A great item if you're in a farm lane or if you're going to get stomped in lane, but make sure to pop the egg around 10 to 12 minutes because you don't want to have it for those earn fights. Mystic Slow, Mystic Vulnerability, Bullet Resist Shredder, and Suppressor. Now these are all super situational items, like the category suggests, and almost used in identical situations. And one of those situations is in the late game, when you still have an item like Opening Rounds or Enchanter's Emblem. 9 times out of 10, a better option will be sell one of those items for one of these. Now, which one of these items is best is dependent on what you need. Do you need to slow someone? Mystic Slow. Do you need to reduce someone's spirit resistance? Mystic Vulnerability. And I think you get the point. Extra Charge / Rapid Recharge. These are great items, but it's just hard to justify spending the souls on them because any time in the build, there's always a better option to spend souls on. Now, if it's late game and you have a slot open, it's not a terrible option, but that's the only case I would use these items.
Guys, you can't kill me. I got plot armor.
Now, what even is the early game? When I refer to the early game, I'm referring to any time before 10 minutes. To me, mid-boss signals the end of the early game and the beginning of mid-game. Now, the early game can be split into 2 different parts, laning and post-laning. Now, the laning phase does have a hard cutoff, at 8 minutes when sinners spawn. However, the laning phase can end before 8 minutes, depending on the game. I consider the first Guardian going down to be the end of laning phase, if not the 8-minute mark. Now, that doesn't mean that after 8 minutes, Guardians are useless and you shouldn't try and defend them, because you definitely should. But it's probably not a good idea to die trying to defend a Guardian. Now, in the early laning, and I'm talking the first 2 to 3 minutes, I would default to being really aggressive, as your shield and good early gun damage make it super difficult to trade against you. Now, Sometimes you and your lane partner won't be on the same page about this, and unfortunately, you're just going to have to stop being aggressive there. There are also a few lane matchups where going aggressive isn't a good idea. Think something like Yamato Silver, who's just super oppressive in lane. Now, after what was hopefully a good 2 to 3 minutes of aggressive laning, you should identify what type of lane you're in: a winning, a losing, or neutral lane. In a winning lane, it is still possible to lose, so you'll continue to be aggressive, pressing your advantage to take the enemy Guardian, or looking to gank another lane. To have won a winning lane, you need to either take the enemy Guardian before 8 minutes, and or have helped one of your other lanes get ahead. Now, losing lanes. And like how winning lanes are possible to lose, you can win a losing lane. To win a losing lane, all you have to do is the opposite of a winning lane. Keep your Guardian until 8 minutes, and make sure the enemy laner hasn't gone and gotten one of their other lanes ahead. Your job in a losing lane is to delay the enemy from roaming around the map and affecting other lanes. Lastly, neutral lanes. Neutral lanes can be really tricky both to identify and to win, because sometimes you think you're in a neutral lane, but you actually were in a winning or losing lane, but just didn't recognize it. And that will come with experience playing the game.
I'll be right back, Bebop.
Now, neutral lanes are lanes where you can't kill the enemy, but they also can't kill you. This is where small macro decisions are really what will win you or lose you the lane. Doing things like shoving the wave super hard at the right time so that you can secure the bridge buff for yourself, or making sure to properly run boxes in between waves to give yourself just that little edge over the enemy. Another way to win a neutral lane is going to gank another lane and getting that lane ahead. Now the post lane. Post lane is where you as Paige should be grouping with maybe 2 or 3 or more of your teammates, trying to force down Guardians, or helping prevent the enemy from doing exactly that. As taking down the Guardians gives you lots of map pressure, allowing your carries to safely farm up.
Don't you get it? I'm the protagonist. I always win.
Mid-game is where Paige is at her strongest, and this is where leaning into either the Protector or the Catcher lockdown style is really going to matter. Leaning into more of the Protector style, you're going to want to be doing things like shadowing your carries as they try and farm camps, making sure they don't get ganked. Or you could be using your carry as bait to try and ambush enemies who think they're coming for a free kill, and then you turn it around on them. But if you want to use this strategy, make sure you communicate with your team and don't actually bait your teammates. Now, if you chose to lean into the Catcher/Lockdown playstyle, you're going to want to be the one trying to gank the enemy carries. Either by catching them out in a side lane with a couple of your teammates, or finding them on a jungle camp and calling over your nearest carry to help you kill them. Now, no matter what playstyle you've chosen, it's super important to do your best to protect your own jungle. In some cases, that could mean taking the camp for yourself so the enemies can't. In others, it could be just showing up and scaring the enemies off with your presence. And this is best done from the high ground. Playing on the high ground gives you the ability to scout out areas while staying relatively safe. Plus, there's a surprising amount of boxes to be had on the rooftops. Now, as a support, you are allowed to take your own jungle camps, but there's a method to it. Don't be taking camps when you have a carry nearby, because it's much better the souls go to them. Now, if you're kind of alone on the side of the map and there's no teammates nearby, it's totally okay to take a tier 2 camp, even a tier 3, depending on the game time. And any time past 8 minutes, it's totally okay to take tier 1 camps, as they respawn so fast that no one will even know you've taken it. Now, when it comes to enemy camps, you can take any enemy camps, and it's actually better that you take enemy camps. Because not only does it give your team souls, it actively takes away from enemy souls. So anytime you're given the opportunity to steal an enemy camp, I would highly recommend it.
Help me deliver this thing.
I'm going to briefly talk about the urn, as this is another topic that I plan to make an entire video talking about. As a support, you need to be, at minimum, at least on the side of the map where the urn spawns. Having control of the urn is super important. Even if you can't dunk the urn and secure those souls, just the fact that you're holding the urn puts a lot of pressure on the enemies and will cause them to make mistakes.
This story's starting to get good.
The late game to me means any time after 25 minutes. Once you get into the late game, Paige is at her weakest, but don't mistake that for your actions mean nothing, because it's quite the opposite, and I'll explain what I mean by that. As Paige, you can no longer impact the game by your own actions, and you become 100% reliant on your teammates. However, you can still influence the game through your teammates. If your teammates are trying to make a play, as Paige, it's your job to influence that play by amplifying your teammate, enabling them to do what they do best. Be that helping a carry dish out tons of damage and protecting them by giving them a shield that gives them fire rate and damage, or by helping a tank survive for way longer than they have any right doing. Now that your micro has become so simple and easy to execute, it's best that you start focusing on the macro. It's really easy to take a big step back and look at the macro of the game. Saying things like, let's not fight right now because you notice that your green lane is pushed up, and those creeps will do some major damage to your base if that fight goes long. Or if, say, Mina has been causing lots of problems in team fights, let's say, hey, let's focus Mina next fight. I have knockdown for her, or slowing hex, for example. You can still have impact, but it must be conveyed through your teammates, as Paige herself can no longer do it in the late game.
Let's go to mid.
I'm gonna quickly talk about some Paige specifics when it comes to fighting around mid-boss. Paige's ult is really strong for securing and denying mid-boss. Now, when your team is the one taking mid-boss, if there are 2 or more teammates to punch the mid-crystals, and the enemy might contest, like obviously you don't need to do this if the enemy team is all dead, but if there's a chance they can steal a reju, I highly recommend hiding under one of the platforms in mid. This way, if the enemy tries to contest with big reju fight abilities like Lash Ult or Paradox Swap, you're in a position where you won't get hit by these abilities, and you'll be able to react appropriately to the ability they use. Now, if you're on the team that is countering mid-boss, you need to time your ult for just when the crystals drop, or as close as you can without being late. Now, if you're doing a really desperate play, as in if the enemy gets reju, it's game over type situation, try not to be the one hitting the crystals, as you're much more useful trying to disrupt the enemy and protect your teammates who are going in for those hits. Now, this guide is not going to make you a better player just by watching it. You are actually going to have to go out and play some games to get some experience. But this guide will be a great foundation to help you build upon. This guide is just that, a guide. And in a game as dynamic as Deadlock, there are situations where not following the things I mentioned in this video are the optimal play. When you are making plays that go against what I said in this video, make sure there's a meaningful decision behind it, and not a just, oh well, I don't feel like doing that. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and have found at least some of it useful. Okay, bye.